Welcome, my friends, to today's video, which is all about third conditional sentences. I made a video about zero, first and second conditional sentences. You can watch that using the link in the description below. But today's video is all about the third conditional. This can be quite tricky. When we use the third conditional, we are talking about something which did not happen in the past. So we are using the past tense and we are imagining that things happened differently. Something happened, but we are thinking, what if that thing was different? How would my actions have been different? Which I know is quite a difficult concept to understand. So I've decided that the best way to learn this is through lots and lots of examples. Third conditional sentences always start with if, because we are talking about something which did not happen. So we start by saying, if this had happened. If this thing happened in the past. Here's the first example. If I had worked harder at university, I could have got a first-class degree. In this example, I did not get a first-class degree, and I did not work as hard as I could have done. I could have spent more time studying. I could have asked more questions of my professors. I could have learned more, but I didn't. So I did not get a first-class degree, but if I had worked harder, I could have got a first-class degree. That's the first example. The second example. If I had gone to bed earlier, I wouldn't have fallen asleep at work. So in this example, I was so tired that I fell asleep at work. But if I had gone to bed earlier, that would not have happened. If I had gone to bed earlier, I wouldn't have fallen asleep at work. From this sentence, we know that I did not go to bed early and I did fall asleep at work. We can say this in a different way. The third example is the same as the second, but we're using different words. So instead of if I had, we're going to use if I hadn't. So to replace if I had gone to bed earlier, we're going to say if I hadn't stayed up so late. It's the same thing. I stayed up late. I didn't go to bed early. If I hadn't stayed up so late, I wouldn't have fallen asleep at work. It's the exact same meaning. We've just switched had for hadn't. If I had, if I hadn't. And you can use either of those in the third conditional. A phrase we often use at the beginning of third conditional sentences is if I had known. If I'd known. I had can be shortened to I'd, that's I apostrophe D, I'd. If I'd known, then I would have done this. So known is the past tense of to know something, to know. For example, if I'm invited to my friend's house, I go to my friend's house. She opens the door and there are lots of people there. And I'm surprised. I thought I was the only person. There are lots of people in my friend's house. I could say, oh, if I'd known it was a party, I would have brought a cake. If I'd known it was a party, I would have brought a cake. In this sentence, I didn't know that my friend was having a party. I thought it was just me and my friend, but actually it's a party. So I didn't know it was a party. I didn't bring a cake. But if I'd known it was a party, I would have brought a cake. If something in the past was different, if she had said, I'm having a party tomorrow, come round, I would have brought a cake. My actions would have been different. Another example with if I'd known. The gym that I work in is really, really cold in winter. And very often people say something like, if I'd known it was so cold in here, I would have brought my gloves. Very often people come to the gym, they pick up the weights, and the weights are freezing cold. And people say, oh, if I'd known it was so cold, I would have brought gloves. They don't have gloves, but if they'd known it was cold, they would have gloves. Hopefully you're getting the idea of how to use this type of sentence. I have one last example. This one is about my friend. When I met my friend years ago, we were both quite young, and he couldn't cook. He didn't know how to cook. No one had ever taught him. If his parents had taught him, then he would have known how to cook. His parents did not teach him. He did not know. But if his parents had taught him, then he would have known how to cook. If you can think of any more examples, write them in the comments and let me know if you have any questions about third conditional sentences. Thank you so much for your support and I will see you in the next video. Bye.